You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy. iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Brian McCubbin.
Hey everybody, how you doing this week?
Hey, David Hall.
Hello.
And Greg Hectus.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Mackenzie Stevens.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome back. And special guest, Justin Pearson.
Hello.
On the show this week, we'll recap an action-packed Coke Series race at the Milwaukee Mile. The iRacing Formula Skip Barber Series is headed down to the wire with a full ride in the real Skip Barber Series on the line. We are getting more peeks at what Season 2 will offer, and we'll look at what is the fastest single lap in the history of iRacing.
Yeah, that's right. And you can follow along with us in real time on your PC or mobile device as you listen to the show and see for yourself all these great topics we'll be talking about by visiting iRacersLounge.com and selecting show notes. So hop on and let's see you there.
All right, well, let's jump to our special guest, Justin Pearson. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Well, let's go back to where we first met. I believe it was in a league race, wasn't it? I didn't really realize it, but you raced with us in a league last year, right?
Yeah, it was Jeff Marbles, if I got his last name right. It was his league a couple years ago. That was when I first got into iRacing for the first time.
All right, well, very good. Well, let's go through some questions and get to know you. I mean, you hit me up and wanted to get on the team, and we graciously said, let's do it. So you've been running with us for a couple races now on Tifosi Racing, and it's been fun. I kind of threw you into the fire. Let's get to know you a bit. What is the first time you've ever heard iRacing, and what did you do about it?
The first time I heard about iRacing was actually during COVID. I was sitting down watching NASCAR when they had those special editions. I think they were running around Bristol, and I seen a commercial, and I already had a gaming computer and a VR, and kind of started from there.
Okay. So tell us about your equipment. I mean, what are you running on for wheels and pedals and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, right now, so like I said, that was 2 years ago. I had a little break, kind of life got in the way then, but I always had in the back of my mind I was coming back to it. So I just a couple months ago, I bought me a TR160 cockpit with the Henskenveld pedals. I always pronounce that wrong. I'm sorry. They're the Ultimate Pluses. Then I got triple monitor set with one on the top, actually, and a semi-cube wheelbase. The Pro, the middle one, the one in the middle. Then the Henskenveld shifter also.
What about your wheel rims?
Oh yeah, I got the Fanatec NASCAR wheel rim.
All right. Well, you're not messing around. I mean, you're coming in here buying like top of the line equipment. I mean, the TR160 is like the best track racer cockpit. The Semi-Cube Pro, I mean, that's second to none. And then, Henskenveld Ultimate Plus, like that's the best pedals they have. I mean, what was the idea about skipping all the middle stuff and going to the best?
Well, I just kind of wanted to do it the right way. Kind of rewind 2 years ago. Uh, I started with that VR, but then I had the Logitech pedals with the office chair, and I did it the old school way. And I always knew I wanted to upgrade, and I wanted to be one and done.
Man. All right. And then what third party software are you running? We got you going on TeamSpeak, but what else do you got?
Um, I use the smart control for the pedals. Then I use the SemiCube software and Race Labs. I just got the yearly subscription to that.
All right, cool. So let's talk about what you're racing. I mean, what were you racing before you joined the team? And now that you're with us, I mean, what is your outlook for the rest of the season here?
I'm mainly kind of an asphalt oval guy. I'll run trucks, Xfinity, Cup. I really like Cup. Um, but yeah, I'm really starting to like the NIS races. You guys are teaching me about them also.
Yeah. I think it was either you or Mackenzie last night were surprised how many people we had in the in the splits. I mean, we were running 36, 37 people. It's a whole different race when you have that many.
Yes, it is. I mean, it gets pretty intense. I like it.
Okay, what about leagues and hosted and stuff like that? You do anything there or special events?
I picked up a little league here in the last couple weeks. I raced a Daytona race actually with them, and that's what kind of got me inspired to hit you guys up on the podcast because that racing was so clean. It was kind of off from the public servers. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, Justin Pearson, we're happy to have you. It's been fun racing around you recently and getting to know you. So, spell. I always ask at the end, what is your most memorable iRacing moment so far?
Probably, probably my first win with my new rig. I kind of got one a week into it, and that's the one I really remember.
All right. That's always the one that was going to stick with everybody, I think.
Yep, Atlanta.
But wait till you get a big NIS win this year, and you're going to think twice about what your best moment is, I bet.
Hopefully that's true.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on the show, and we're going to be happy to have you on a regular basis, I hope, and we'll see you on the track.
Thank you.
All right, time to roll off topics. But before we get to those, let's actually jump in and cover the Coke race. Mike.
Yeah, pre-race, we heard Jimmy Mullis reveal he is COVID positive, but ready to race tonight. And so we had a team discussion a little bit about, hey, you catch COVID, you still do your Coke race, your I race? What do you guys think?
It depends how you feel, I guess. I mean,
I guess so.
you're isolated. You're isolated pretty much. It's not that big a deal. A buddy of mine test positive. He didn't even know he had it. So I mean, the symptoms were so mild. He just thought he had the sniffles. So if that's the kind of condition you're in, there's no reason not to race.
Yeah, he's point racing too. Also, Ryan Luza tells us about his experience at the Snowball Derby, where he got a last minute call where some sponsorship deal came together where he was able to go down there for 9 days straight racing, and he told us about how it was and that kind of thing. It was neat. Uh, Colin Bowden, he said on the social media, don't have a Milwaukee pick, but we spent the week on a bender at Mardi Gras, not worried about practice because you know, my mama raised a G, so we'll be fine. So, yeah, he was down for Mardi Gras. He didn't get any practice for the Milwaukee race. I don't know if that's a good thing. Next, before the race, we realized that there's some new commercials. iRacing has got another title sponsor for this Milwaukee race, D-Box. Um, and then, of course, the guys at iRacing, Adam, those guys, or Drew Adamson, I should say his name is. He got a great intro video right before the race put together. I thought that would really hyped me up a little bit. And then finally, one driver did not even show up for the race. Don't know why, but that was Femi Olad.
Yeah, I'm not sure why Femi didn't show up. I haven't heard anything. And the D-Box sponsorship, that was pretty interesting because I don't remember ever having like a single race sponsorship, like NASCAR has their, beef, it's what's for dinner 500 or whatever. The D-Box 200 is what they did. I don't think they've ever had a single individual race sponsor like that before. It's pretty cool.
Well, the cooperation continues to happen between them and NASCAR. I watch most, or I don't listen. I don't watch most of the races. I usually listen to them and race myself at the same time. And every time now they're advertising the Coke race during the NASCAR race on MRN.
Oh, that's really cool. So we're at Milwaukee this week. 1 mile track, flat corners, which kind of almost races like a short track when those corners are flat like that. But and it's because being that way, you would think there'd be a lot of cautions, but this thing started off pretty clean. We had a really good save by Bowden after some contact with Ryan Luza. And through 16 laps, Nick Ottinger, who was the pole sitter, he was taking it to everybody. He stayed in the lead, didn't have any problems.
Yeah, absolutely. It was they were minding their P's and Q's, at least at the beginning. Like it was a race to the bottom, but once everybody got there, it was fairly clean. Another amazing save little bit later was Michael Cozy Jr., who got a boop from Kevin King and took a tour through the grass, but saved it. And then lap 24, Joey Brown was currently the biggest mover. He was up 10 spots so far. By lap 40, Joey Brown still the biggest mover, up to 15th. And by lap 44, caution is Colin Bowden as he wrecks from the back. Another case of you pinch, you pay, where Colin Bowden has found out across the nose of Michael Cozy Jr., and they all pit, but Honeycutt missed his box.
Yeah, so first caution didn't come out until lap 44, which is pretty impressive at that point. This was only a 100 lap race, so I mean, I was watching it thinking, man, this might be like a 45-minute race if the way this is going. But now the cautions finally started coming out around lap 40, 44. At the restart on 47, Nick Ottinger and Cody Bias are still in the lead, taking the field into the turn. But a quick caution, second one comes right out on the first lap. Timmy Holmes gets sent off the nose by Tyler Gary with some hard contact. Another quick caution after that. So after a really good start, two quick cautions came out before we even got a lap in. This time, Mains dives bombs Bordeaux, which brings out a caution. So the cars are slow to they're slow. They're slowing down for the caution, but Derek Bordeaux, he does not slow down. He goes after Mains and tries to give him a little payback. But in the process, he actually side slams Vicente Salas and spins him out under the caution flag before he finally makes his way up to Garrett Mains and gives him his tap. No penalty or anything for that, but there was definitely some payback under caution.
Now, I was disappointed to see, payback under caution. We have live admins in the room, and there were no apparent penalty during the race. I mean, it's one thing when you send in a penalty post race and you get to, sit down for a week. But if there's a live admin in the room, you almost expect them to handle it on the spot. I expected a black flag for this guy, or a drive-through penalty or something, or maybe even just park him for the rest of the race. What do you guys think about that? I mean, did iRacing do the right thing as a sanctioning body? Acts as far as this goes. I mean, if this happened in real NASCAR, you have a guy driving through the field under caution and trying to wreck somebody. I mean, I don't. I think they would do something.
Well, one question might be, is there a precedent set, and do they do anything else as far as live adminning goes? Because I don't want to spoil something earlier, but that's coming up a little bit later. But do they do any live adminning, or do they just kind of let iRacing handle everything? Is the first question. Um, but they may just have a precedent where they want to review the stuff afterwards and just go ahead and lay penalties down later. It's kind of up to them.
Well, I would expect that they park him for 2 weeks so he misses the next race. That's what I would expect.
Yeah,
But
and
we'll see.
in my opinion, I don't think Garrett Maines really did anything wrong. I mean, he would try to get underneath him going into the turn, and Bordeaux just cut him down. He was inside of Maines, and for dive bombing, I guess, I don't know, but he had the position. So I mean, I don't even think it was all that much to get upset about, in my opinion.
It was pretty cutthroat race. I mean, there's one
Yeah.
groove. If you're on the outside on a restart, you're toast. You're going to the back if you can't get down. And so you expect somebody to go inside of you almost because of the nature of this situation. And you're right. I mean, did he really do anything wrong? Not really, but I don't know. Garrett Maines, the way he raced in this race, kind of rubbed me the wrong way. He was ultra aggressive, but guess what? He's the only one passing cars. Well, he was one of the few, but he made it up to finish third at the end of the event, coming from near the back. And so Garrett Maines, it was definitely someone to watch all night.
Yeah,
Next,
in my opinion,
yeah.
if you're gonna block going into the corner like he tried to do, you have to make sure you're clear you have to block him before you get to the turn and before he gets to your bumper, to your side panel.
You can't leave a lane, right? You can't leave the lane at all. You got to get that lane closed. Kind of like they were doing at the Coliseum almost. You know how they drive it way down to the inside to try to protect. All right, restart 45 to go. Nick Ottinger and Jordy Lopez Jr. lead the field into turn one. It was caution. Jimmy Mullis slides 44 to go. And then restart 39 to go. Same guys lead. And then a new leader, Malik Ray, actually edges Nick Ottinger right before the caution. Nick kind of drove him down to the grass, but Malik had a nose on him and wouldn't give up. And he edged him right when the caution came out for Jimmy Mullis spins after contact with Joey Brown and others in front of him. Now, at this point, I thought we might be watching Fox Sports because there was no replay of the only lead change of the race so far. Like we're halfway through this race and more, and a lead change happens, and there's no replay of it. Sorry, iRacing. I mean that. I mean you got to fit that in. You got to make that happen. Restart 33 to go. Malik Ray and Nick Ottinger lead. And then caution with 30 to go. Donovan Strauss involved. He got hip check going down the inside by Michael Cozy Jr. That name we've repeated several times now.
Yeah, so now we got 26 to go, and Malik Ray still in front with Nick Ottinger leading the field into turn one. But with 25 to go, which is one lap later, there's another crash, and this one's a big one. Duvall went three wide, and Casey Kerwin and Jordy Lopez got together. Garrett Maines plows through that, and it's just a parking lot this track just turned into. So after a really good start, you can just see here that we're getting caution after caution after caution.
Yeah, the way I saw this is, these two guys hit. They're kind of sideways. They're trying to collect it. Maines has nowhere to go, so he just kind of stays in the gas and kind of pushes them through. And and that pushes them right back up into traffic, and boom, yeah, big wreck. You don't see wrecks this big at a track like this usually, but wow, that was one of them. Now, to what David alluded to before, we had a very unusual call from iRacing up in the tower. They decide under this caution they're going to change to single file restart. So, what do you guys think about this? I mean, this rubbed me the wrong way because several people pitted on the previous caution for tires at 25 to go. That's usually a good spot to pit. Now, when you pit, you think there's no reason to think it's a single file restart. You're thinking it's going to be double file. You're going to be pretty close to the leader. You're going to have a chance. But if it suddenly switches to single file, man, maybe getting tires isn't the right call. I think they screwed the people that got tires on the previous caution due to this call.
Well, I don't. I mean, from what I heard on the broadcast, they had been warning the field that we keep this up and we're going to go single file. So it wasn't just sprung out of nowhere. They didn't they didn't give them a warning as to which caution would trigger the single file restarts, but they were reportedly warned a couple of times that you guys keep crashing like this on the first turn, then we're just going to do single file, and they kept crashing. So it in a way it's the drivers that have been causing the problems. I didn't have that big a problem with it. I understand what you're saying, Mike, that some of these guys who thought they were going to be a lot closer to the leader are now twice as far back as they would have been if it was a too wide restart. But um, I think the admins just were just tired of it, and they didn't want this race to turn into a mess that was embarrassing.
It was like we would get a lap, not even a lap, and a caution would come out, and then not even a lap, and then 3 laps, and then a caution. Yeah, you're right. So it was just one after another. Now, to David's point, they decided to make this drastic change on the restart. Should they have parked Derek Bardeau or maybe put him down a lap, due to the earlier incident, or what do you think about that?
Well, it's showing a little inconsistency, but that may have just been a policy that they already set, that they'll always handle that stuff after the fact. But if they're going to live admin cautions in basically a professional series, just because they're wrecking so much, then why can't they go ahead and park a guy that caused problems like that?
I think it would have been appropriate. I really do. But like I said, we'll see if he misses the next race or not. I would guess he would. I'll be disappointed if he doesn't, to be honest. Now, another key lead change here on the restart with 19 to go. Malik misses a shift, and Mike Conti blasts by and takes the lead on the restart.
So Connie takes the lead from from Malik Ray. It was really interesting too because right before that restart, they had an in-car live interview with Malik, and he was telling him he didn't like the position he was in, with Conti behind him. He was afraid he was going to get bumped, but I think his nerves might have got to him, and he just made a mistake on his shift, and you could hear it in the broadcast, the replay. The engine rev up when he tried to shift. So it sounds like he just made a mistake, and it's too bad for Malik. But with 16 to go, Nick Ottinger returns the earlier favor to Malik after Malik passed him with a little bump and run. But that was to take back the second place, and now he's trying to hunt down Conti. But Conti has like a second lead. And it seemed like he was in pretty comfortable position as the laps were kind of winding down. Now Conti also said that he had short run speed, so he was going like a bat out of Hades in the early part of the run, trying to build up as much as lead as he can, so that when he knows he starts slowing down on a longer run, he has a little bit of a cushion. But all that was for naught because with 10 to go, another caution comes out with Vicente Salas spinning out. So we finally got another restart with 5 to go. Again, Michael Conti with that short run speed, but has he used up all of his tires? trying to get a big lead. Um, we're not sure, but he lead the field in the turn one on the restart. Got a great start and opened up a little bit of the lead over Nick Ottinger, who was in second. 3 to go. Ottinger is still with Conti within a second, within a car length or two. Um, at the same time, to go into, I'm sorry, Garrett Maines makes his way into third ahead of Malik Ray. So the white flag comes out, 1 lap to go, and Conti is still in the lead with a short little car and a half spread, um, and Ottinger was just doing everything he can to try to make up that space, but could not do it. And Michael Conti wins at the Milwaukee Mile.
Yeah, lots of mixed emotions here. I mean, when Malik was leading, there was a lot of hope from a lot of fans. I mean, he still has not won in the Coke Series, but Malik has, and they pointed this out on the broadcast. He's won everything else. I mean, you see him in B Open, B Fix, C Fix, A Open, you name it. He is out there and he's won it, and lots and lots of times. So, um, yeah, it was disappointing to see him mess that up. But again, at the end, to see Nick Ottinger and Mike Conti, some of the best in the business that have been going at it for so long, really, duke this out mano on mano. It was great. And, Mike Conti in his final year that he's already announced that he's retiring, to get the win, the second win into the season, kind of get that behind him. I'm sure that was a pressure point for him to, hey, I want to win in this last season. Now I'm sure he's thinking championship, let's set up for that.
Yeah, exactly. You got that pass to the playoffs with the victory. You can start really concentrating there.
Yeah, what a cool guy. He was calm and collected. They had a video of him and Nick, where you could see their faces, and pressure was on, but he didn't make any mistakes. And you can't when you have some of the best in the business right behind you. But well done to Mike Conti. Uh, Really neat to see him win in his final year.
I'm going to interrupt with a little bit of breaking news. I just saw posted that Bordeaux has been suspended for the Atlanta race.
Ah, well,
Just
there
came
you
out
go.
about 10 minutes ago, as we speak.
I think that was well deserved.
Yeah, I mean, we got to. I mean, especially in it, like you said, this is a professional series. I mean, we're treating it as such, and you can't go after somebody under caution, no matter what happened. I mean, that is not the way to race. And so I hope, everyone who listens to this realizes that's not good. That's not good to do, because look what happens. You get suspended.
All right, let's jump into the news. We're going to kick off things with a more build teasers. iRacing has been giving out more teasers, and it looks like we've got some more shots of this hatchback-looking Clio, right?
The Renault Clio. And we got a video too, which was pretty cool. I sent a picture of this to my son because he likes cars like this. Like, he bought the Hyundai Veloster, which looks very much like this. It's just a tiny little sedan car. In fact, I wonder if they're going to be in the same class. I have no idea.
Then we also have a video of what's probably the new late model or super late model that's been being introduced, testing at a track.
Yeah, Dale Jr. actually tweeted this out first, and then iRacing put it out. But yeah, it's just a static view around North Wilkesboro of the new late model. Word is that it's going to replace the current one, completely replace it, and it will be free.
And didn't he say, I think he said on his show today, this was his car that was scanned. It's related to the Cars Tour, I believe.
Yeah, we got a story later where we're going to go over that a bit.
kind of interesting video they did here because the camera is static behind the souvenir tent, and Dale Jr.'s in his pose with Steve Myers. That's Steve, right? Um,
Yeah.
and you just kind of look at the car going around the track from outside of the stands with the tent in the way. So I think that was a bit of an homage to Dale Jr. Being the driving force behind this and giving the iRacing a lot of information they need to get these cars on the track. It was pretty
Yeah.
cute. It didn't
Get
didn't
him in
really
the
give any
shot, right?
information. Yeah, didn't really give any information. So it just had the car doing some laps. But it was definitely a pretty cute little teaser. I liked it.
All right, the next one we actually have is a video from Emily Jones questioning whether or not iRacing is still worth it in 2023. What do you think, Brian?
So yeah, Emily's a good racer too, and she's been around for a while. She gives a little bit of history of the background of iRacing, going back to the days in Papyrus and stuff like that. Kind of how it started. She made a note that in the early iterations of iRacing, it was kind of designed to be a training tool for real life drivers, and it's just evolved from there. So she made up this video. And what her conclusion was is yeah, it's still very relevant and still very popular. um, she made a note how the models, the damage models, everything from the tire model, the track, a lot of that stuff has evolved, and the code has evolved completely different from its original. So she made the point that we make a lot is like, this game's been around a while, but it's not the first same game as when it started. So all these all the things that you pay for, and the subscriptions and the track fees are going to good use. And she also mentioned, there's ways to save money on iRacing, by following certain paths, not buying things you're not going to use, to keep it more affordable.
And really, once you really get into it, I still go right back to that point I always make when somebody's like, "Don't buy a track." Well, when Mike's deciding whether or not he wants to buy a track or not, while he's got a $1,500 wheel sitting on his rim, the amount of money we spend on the software compared to hardware, if we go really deep into it, is orders of magnitude different.
He does a nice example of what a new person might have to spend if they got involved in iRacing and went down a certain path. So here's how she broke it down: $12 for the rookie content, $60 to get all the Toyota GR86 series tracks, so you could run that series. Then $15 for a GT4 car, then another $100 for all the GT4 tracks for that series, and then why not do the $15 GT3 car and then $60 for all the GT3 tracks? So now she has three different series that she can run. She has all the tracks, the cars, and with a 20% discount equals $209. So you don't have to spend a lot to get involved and get started. But to David's point, as after you buy all the tracks and you have a lot of them, then the cost goes down per month. You're just paying the subscription renewal basically. Once you're running NASCAR pretty much, and you have all the NASCAR tracks, you're not really spending a lot of money.
Yeah, and there's other ways that iRacing can be used. For example, a friend of mine, his son is going to be racing sprint cars this season. First time he's ever raced sprint cars. He's going to be running the 360s. Well, he got iRacing early before and started just using that as a training tool to get to learn how to drive these sprint cars. And the only thing he really bought was the sprint cars and a few of the tracks he wanted to practice on, and he's been doing that ever since. He's just been practicing on iRacing. So I mean, he doesn't really run any races or anything. He just uses it as a practice tool. That's it. And so all it cost him was the subscription fee, a couple, a car, the sprint car package, and a couple of tracks. That was it.
So, Mackenzie, why don't you pipe in and tell us? I mean, how are you managing buying the content as a newer person?
Yeah, so what I did is I just buy obviously I buy the cards as I go and want to run the series. Um so far for the NIS series, what I've been doing is just buying like 3 tracks at a time, like three weeks ahead, and then when I get to the next set, I buy three more again. That's pretty much how I've been doing it.
So that gets you in the discount range every time if you buy 3.
Yeah, you need 3 for the discount. I think it's maybe a 10% discount or whatever it is.
Right. But you realize once you buy these once, like next season, you don't have to buy them again.
Yeah, exactly.
Also,
What about
once you
you,
get
Justin?
once you get a certain number of tracks, you're automatically discounted on everything. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
Justin. What about your purchasing habit?
Yeah, I'm like I said earlier. I was pretty invested a couple years ago on the tracks. I ran a full season, so I had a lot of the NASCAR tracks. So now I have so much content bought. I do get that discount. I forget what it is, but uh, really the only thing I buy now is sometimes a set or two.
All right, this next one we're going to talk about is some series or season 2 road series updates, and it includes adding the FF 1600, which is going to be a free series that's going to be 30 minutes offset from the Formula V series. That'll allow new members to be able to switch back and forth, I guess, between the two. We're also bringing in we've already talked about the Renault Clio Cup. It's joining the 10 tops class actually, so it's going to be I guess in a multi. I don't know if that's a multi-class or not, but it's going to be in there, and it's a single make series that'll have 15-minute races starting every hour. It's also going to be in the production car challenge, replacing the VW Jetta.
Oh, not the VW.
All right, the Lara Formula IR is that the jet car?
Yeah.
All right, its series is undergoing a structure revamp for season 2, and it's switching to 20-minute races using fixed setups. The change is also in concert with some tire and aero updates that's addressing many of the complaints about how the car handled. So maybe that'll revive what's probably a dead series.
This really caught my attention. I can't run this series because it was open and it was long and I just couldn't compete. But if they switch it up to a short sprint race on fixed setups, maybe I will run it.
And then they're also switching the supercar series back to open while keeping shorter race distances.
Jet car, I like it. So we'll see if I'd run that maybe.
Yeah, so is this the first time we heard that the Formula 1600 is going to be a free car? Because that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of these low level cars now that have been brought in, but it's nice that it's free. Yeah. And it's so similar looking to the other one, the Formula V, that it seems appropriate to kind of, pair that up where they offset each other. You can skip back and forth between the two.
Well, that seems like one of the things that they have been going back and catching up and updating as all the rookie cars, and that sometimes involves just bringing in a new car instead of like updating the street stock or whatever. Sometimes it's just okay, let's just make a whole new rookie car.
Or like you like bring in the Clio and get rid of the VW, right?
Yeah, and that's not even on the rookie level. That's the second tier of the Class D. All right, Brian, we've got some Skip Barber Formula racing to talk about.
Yeah, so last Thursday was the penultimate, the next to last race of the season. Going into it, the point race was super tight, 2 point difference. Diego Pinto had a 2 point lead over Harley Houghton, who had coming into this race. It was held at VIR, and actually Sebastian Weldon and Michael Romanitis took the feature wins in those races. But really, all the focus was on Pinto and Houghton to see where they were. And between the two races, the points were added up, and that 2 point lead is now a 1 point lead. So there's a 1 point lead of Diego Pinto over Houghton going into the final race, which is actually tonight. It's 7:30. It starts in a half hour here. That's the final race of the year. It's at Road America. And man, this is going to be exciting because again, this is for one of the better prizes in all of esports, a fully funded Skip Barber ride for the whole season. So really interested to see who takes the win in this series. Um, again, I think I said last week, but I'm kind of rooting for Pinto because Houghton is actually a real world driver already. So I'd rather see somebody get in there who's coming directly from sim racing and not with that background.
And wait, when you say, Sebastian Weldon, I mean, that's a blast from the past. I mean, I remember this very blonde child, probably, I don't know, 5, 6 years old when his dad passed away racing. And that was a very bittersweet moment, in the racing community. And it's pretty cool to see him, involved in racing and trying to get this scholarship.
All right, let's get the new guys talking a little bit. Mackenzie, why don't you tell us a little bit about the UTV service that might be coming to iRacing?
Yeah, so Steve Myers posted some tweets about iRacing looking into adding UTVs to the server to bolster their dirt road content. So he's got a tweet here. It's a picture of him in a side by side, and it's just covered in mud. He he said that the only responsible thing to do was to get dirty when he had the chance. So he also says that it qualifies as an iRacing expense. Um, then someone replied to it on Twitter saying that they hope he's serious, and he says he is, and he at Can-Am and Polaris Razor and says who wants in. So I think this would be pretty cool to run in the dirt road series. I've tried dirt road a few times and I'm not very good at it, but I think if they added the side by sides or the UTVs here, I'd definitely give it a try.
It's like a rookie car, right? Like you're new to dirt road and you really want to jump in a winged dirt, sprint car, let's hop in a side by side like, a normal person and go up and down the hills and jump it and stuff like that. It sounds like a blast driving that thing. I'm all for it. Now I checked the replies to see if Can-Am or Polaris has weighed in offering, hey, let's get involved. I don't see the replies, but hopefully Steve will keep chasing it down.
And something like this would not be hard to get a hold of and actually scan, and you could just go down to any dealership.
Right.
Right, I'm sure
So
they
they
would.
they probably buy one of their own and just scan it and keep it.
Right, Steve, it's a business expense, right? If you
Exactly.
buy it for your
They,
family,
they could take it on tour to the different tracks and just feature it as, hey, this is the actual car that's in the service.
Exactly. So every once in a while, I'll be flipping around on Mav TV and see what's going on, and they'll have the trophy trucks on. I'll flip it on, and these things are on more often than the trophy trucks are, and they look so fun to drive. It looks so fun. Um, I mean, they get a lot of air because they're so light and they're pretty quick, and the racing is really good in them. So yeah, let's bring it. Some of the responses in the thread were like, um, the dirt road stuff has been really stale, ever since they brought the trucks in. That was a few years ago, and there's not a whole lot of tracks, I guess, to even bring in. So they've added as many as they can, I guess. But this would be a new feature on the dirt road, and a lot of fun. You know, might revamp that whole series.
I like it.
Got to throw this one to you, Mike, because you like to warm up for races with some AI racing.
Yeah, and so I found this post on the forums, and this guy put together next gen top split AI setting. And he said, after a few races at certain tracks, I've gotten the settings down to where I think it's top split competitive and very fun. The settings for each track are below. Please keep in mind to add the correct day and time as well. I start in the back of each race is around 30 minutes with no green flag stops, no yellows. I use the fixed set as well for each track. And then he tells the date and the time, and then he tells the skill, put it between 120 to 125% for Daytona. California 63 to 68. Vegas 68 to 73. So Tuesday night when I ran Vegas, I ran my open set, of course. I put the skill between 68 and 73 as he stated. The time was very close. I didn't adjust the time. Um, I started in the middle of the pack, 20 out of 40. I got to the lead, I think, by lap 9. So I think it was a little low for me, to be honest. So even though I love the idea of this, being able to plug in a number and just go out and race it, I think it might still be dependent on the person. I think for me, I'm going to have to bump that up a bit.
I don't recognize seeing this guy in top split NIS races very much. So I'm wondering if he's thinking more like a open top split. I don't recognize the name, and we've gotten to where we all kind of know each other up there. But yeah, if you're getting to the front in a short race, um, it, top split's a lot tougher than that, and yeah, they're quicker than that. No, sorry, Mike, but they're quicker than me.
Right, and if I'm able to just drive to the front that easily, the setting is too low, and I can acknowledge that, and I'll bump it back up. I think I had it on a setting much higher, and it was pretty correct for most tracks, so I haven't really fussed with it, but I like the idea of somebody dialed it in. Now, if you had somebody like you said, like a Matt Busa, put this list together, or a Mike Conti, or somebody who's quick, who's proven, who is actual top split. I think this would be a worthy endeavor, because then you could share it out to folks, and like me who run these practice races. I want to jump in quickly. I don't want to sit and monkey with the settings to figure out which ones, how strong do I make them and all that. I just want to jump in and race.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, and I think you made some good points, Mike. I think that based on what tracks you're good at, these skill levels might not match up really well. Um, so if you're good at short racing, if you're good at Bristol, Bristol's set at 55 to 60%. That's probably going to be really slow if you're really good at Bristol. But if you go to a mile and a half and you're not that great, then maybe um, the uh, the settings might be a little high. So I still think there's going to be some customization built in just based on your particular skills and what you're good at. Um, but in general, I think it's just kind of odd how this varies so much. Like he's got Bristol at 55 to 60% for skill level, but Kansas is at 103 and 108. So so it's just a lot of variation. You would think the AI, if it was more consistent, that these numbers would be closer together throughout the entire list of tracks.
Now, Mike, when you did the AI race, did you give them the same setup you were running?
Oh, you can't put a setup in the AI. All you
Uh,
get to pick is this percentage.
well, see, that can make a big difference too. If you're running an open set versus a fixed set, that's going to definitely
Yeah.
skew the percentages.
And that's exactly right, Dave. Because open set, you're going to be a lot faster, and these percentages are going to change quite a bit.
Yep. Yeah, I'll bump it back up and find some high point where I can just leave it and not fool with it probably.
Yeah, I wonder how you would have done, Mike, if it was if you used the fixed setup instead of your open set. If the racing would have been better and you're not blowing to the front like it's nothing. But if you want to practice for your NIS, you want to use an open set because that's what you want to be racing in.
And interestingly, my Tuesday night race in the same set I ran Wednesday night didn't feel like the same set at all. I mean, we get into Wednesday and couldn't drive the dang thing at all. Even though Tuesday night it felt perfectly fine. So I don't know what I'm feeling when it comes to that.
That can sometimes happen because of the difference in the condition and
Temperature.
yeah, the track conditions, temperature, humidity, all of that can become a factor.
You mean you don't change your setup based on conditions, Mike?
I don't too much unless it's a really drastic change. Usually if it runs good for me in the A Open, it's probably going to run good for me in the NIS, unless there's a drastic change. We're talking multiple tens of degrees. All right, I'm going to cut this part out because I'm just going to tell you right now on this next topic, I'm throwing in some music like classical fanfare, John Williams type shit. Okay. So I'm gonna kick it off, but just realize it's coming with some music. All right, all right, all right. I'm definitely happy to talk this one of that the sunsetting of the member site has been delayed as iRacing continues to work the kinks out of the member UI. How about this, Mike?
Wow, they must have heard us. This is great. Listener Wesley True alerted us through the Discord about an old post about the UI and the website going away that was posted a long time ago. They updated that post and they added the word postponed into the title as well and added a small update about it. So I'll read the update that Alex Gustafsson posted from staff. He says, this process has been put on hold. The iRacing Classic member site sunset will occur once the iRacing UI is considered feature complete. A short-term goal we have is also to make portions of the iRacing UI available via a web browser and not require an iRacing client install. For example, features such as create a hosted session, manage a team, manage a league, or view time attack standings will be available from an internet browser. We will have more details on this during week 13.
And this is essentially basically what we've been asking for is for the UI to be feature complete, and it simply isn't yet. All right, but once I get it where you can do everything that you can do on the website, fine. But it's just not there yet, and it looks like they've heard that. So this is something to celebrate, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I'm glad they realize that it's not right yet, and yeah, this is good news.
Yeah, it's kind of like the rain. They're not going to release it until it's ready to go. I mean, it's obviously released, but they're not going to make it the only way to get on the service unless it's ready to go. And I'm glad they're doing that. It's still not going to address the issues like we've talked about before. Like it takes a lot more clicks to get where you want on the UI than it does the member site. But at least they're acknowledging it's not quite ready and not going to put something out that's not ready to go.
All right, Justin, this gets to be your first article. Since you've already stepped up to a nice rig, you get to tell us a little bit about Lando Norris's rig.
Yeah, David. It looks like a pro sim rig shows off on Instagram the custom rig they made for F1 driver Lando Norris. And they got this Instagram post where it says Lando Norris new simulator we installed this weekend. It is a new custom line we are offering. Every detail of the simulator can be customized to your exact specification. Lando went for carbon everywhere and a paint to sample two-tone gray, and it's a triple monitor setup. Um, Looks like a really nice rim, and yeah,
It's a hard to see a lot on the with the only 4 pictures that are on the Instagram post, but you can tell that those are hydraulic pedals that he's got on there. This third picture, I guess I don't know if this is some kind of adjustment option or something. It's this neat looking carbon fiber kind of hinge type thing, and I'm not sure where that exactly is and what its function is.
sorry about that, David. I didn't see those other pictures. I see that he's got it looks like a bass shaker. Are those worth it?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that'll be something you'll love. I mean, I screwed one of those butt kickers right to the bottom of my chair, and I love it.
And the value for they're not terribly expensive compared to your like wheelbases and stuff. So yeah, huge gain from them.
I also notice he doesn't have a clutch; it's just brake and throttle.
I was going to say the same thing. Um, I guess he doesn't use his clutch in the cars he's racing in.
They're all hand
It's got
clutches.
paddles.
Yeah, they're all hand
Right.
clutches on F1 cars these days. So that's all I turn my clutch off, and even in the sports cars, I use my hand clutches because that's a little hack I use in the pits with the sports cars, which has tempted me to get it for get a version of the oval rim that would have these paddles clutches on them. Is I can set a bite point where I can just floor it, and it's got just enough clutch that it doesn't spin out. And I use that to launch out of the pits as well as you would use it on cold starts in F1 style races.
Yeah, I really wish I could see what wheel he's running, but it's really hard to tell with the different with the amount of Formula wheels that are out there. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, and what's funny is I based the purchase of my Formula wheel a lot on Lando Norris. Was his first Formula wheel, at least for sim racing, was the Cube Controls, and so that's why I picked Cube Controls because Lando bought it. But yeah, I mean that's where I first saw it and learned about that company is through Lando. So congratulations to Pro Sim. I mean it's a big win to have a Formula One driver like him use your stuff because you're going to get huge exposure.
That's a much greater value than actual buying advertisements, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, we're talking about it, aren't we?
All right, next up, Brian, we have a video of somebody trying to set a new record.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting video. It's by on YouTube by DJ EJ. Is his name, what he goes by, and he posted a video trying to figure out what the fastest single lap in iRacing history is. So it was really interesting. He went through all the different world records and things, and he went to he actually found that not that long ago, one of the 305 sprint cars going around the Chili Bowl set the fastest lap ever in iRacing for any track car combination. So he was like in the 9.5 second range, something like that, and he thought, what could be the fastest lap of any car track combination. So he tried a couple different things. He tried the 410s at the Chili Bowl, since the Chili Bowl's small little quarter-mile track. 410s are all juiced up with plenty of power. And he tried and he wound up going with the infield track. So there's a small little oval track at Iowa, and he wound up figuring out that the IR01 car was the fastest car to turn laps at that track, and he wound up getting into the 7.6 second range for one single hot lap. and thinks that's probably the fastest lap as of any car combination. He did his work too. He threw out all the lap records that were obvious anomalies, and people having like some weird situation where they went through the start finish line and then looped back around and got a 3 second lap. That was all discounted. So he pulled off a mid 7 second lap there, and he actually challenged anybody else to post videos to see if they could get one faster. And somebody did, and got a little quicker than him on the same track car combo.
Now the title really should be shortest lap, not fastest lap, I think, because you're not actually going that fast at a short track like this.
Oh, he's talking about seconds. How many seconds a lap? Like the shortest timed lap.
Which is why I said shortest, right? Shortest is is more clear.
And fastest, right?
Right? Because you're definitely not setting a 220 mile an hour lap like you would be at Indianapolis in an Indy car.
I love this video. I mean, the way he went trying different things. He tried the jet car at Southern National, 8.8. The ARCA at Iowa Legends, 9.6. The 410s at I-55, 9.7. He also went searching for who's ran the fastest lap in hosted or league, and he named off some people there with some record laps, including a guy named Derek Love. I don't know if you remember, Brian, what Derek Love's record was, but he was the fastest lap ever, but it was hosted, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember the combination, but it was like Iowa, one of those little infield small ovals, Legends ovals or whatever they have.
So I actually have a follow-up to this video. So after I watched it and I saw the name, them talking about Mr. Derek Love, I'm actually friends with this guy. I run with him in the hosted Chris McGuire rooms on the weekends. And he's quick, and he's the guy that I'm always having to beat to win these races. He's a 7, his I rating is 7,350. He's no slouch. And anyway, during the caution in one of the races, I brought up on the radio, "Hey, Derek Love, I saw this video that claimed you had the fastest lap in history in hosted." And he said, "Yeah, I saw that too. And guess what? Since I saw that video, I took the jet car to Iowa Legends and I beat DJ EJ's time, and I put up a 7.3. And so now Derek Love is officially the fastest, as David should say, the quick. What do you say? The quickest, the
shortest
lap time in history. Yeah, the shortest lap time in history. Derek Love has it at 7.3. And he also told me that DJ EJ is going to have a follow-up video with this lap. He worked with him on it, and some other guys were trying as well. He said another guy got a 7.4. And what I like about this is sometimes it's not all just about racing. It's about, let's try to do a different thing. Let's try to get a world record. Let's run the fastest time ever. I just love thinking outside the box and doing the research and figuring out what you need to do to beat it. And then this guy went out and beat it. Well, it didn't take long for someone to beat him, but it was still cool.
All right, I'm going to pick up this next one because it's definitely, I guess I'm more of the road guy, especially with Greg not being around, that especially on the sports car side. The suggestion here from a member on the website on the forums is introducing an E-Class. And Michael Berry has made a proposal for the E-Series because with all the new introductions of cars, especially on the road side, things are a little bit cluttered. He's got a nice spreadsheet laid out that shows an E-Class ladder, and it does make sense. For example, on the Road Path 1, which is going to be open wheel Euro side, it goes from Formula V, then Formula 4, Formula Ford, then Formula 4, then Formula 3 or Lotus 49, then the 3.5 or the Lotus 79, and then the Merc or the IR1. So there's definitely room for the 5 classes. I think this is a really brilliant idea, actually.
Clarify, you're not talking about E for electric. You're talking about license class like A, B, C, D, E.
Correct. Adding a 5th class that you have to come up through on the ladder.
So you go out a rookie and you would enter E instead of D, right?
Yes.
I like it. I mean, especially with all the depth of the road cars that have been added recently. There's so many production cars and smaller open wheel now and all these different things. So I like it. I mean, why lump all these things into D? Let's break it up a little bit.
And then even on the NASCAR ladder, it can go from the rookie car being street stocks and or legends. Class would be ARCA, C trucks, B Xfinity, and A cup car. And it'd take a little bit longer for those guys who rush into C class to get into NIS.
Good point.
I really like that idea.
So I mean, everybody needs to jump on the forum and really light this forum topic up and try to get it some popularity and see if it'll get their attention, because this is a brilliant idea, I think.
I think it would clean the racing up a little bit for C class because you have that extra license to go through.
Maybe. I don't know. I think when you get to the point where I'm at, or some of us here, or that are all A's, A license, I mean, does this affect us? No. I mean, it wouldn't affect us if they added to E series. I mean, we're probably not going to be running it. But it's cool for the new people.
Yeah, and it, especially with fast tracking, it would make everything just take a little bit longer for them to get up there. You're right. Even in NIS, which is C class, I don't think I've ever seen a C class racer when we're doing an oval. I've seen it on the roadside because, well, I've seen rookies on the roadside now because of the way they changed the point system works. When you run a road race, you have to have an A oval to qualify for NIS or a C oval to qualify for NIS, but you can be a rookie in road, but your road I rating puts you in your split. So yeah, it's a neat idea. We don't really see C classes. I've seen like a B class once in an NIS race, but for the most part, it's all A class anyway. So the people complaining about that are, well, they're probably seeing some of the shenanigans in lower splits, but the top 3 splits, you just, it's all A class at that point.
I'm running it as the C class, but I'm in a lower split, so.
And it won't take you long to get an A license, especially running these longer races if you finish. Could with the longer races, you get more corner, the CPI, which is corner per incident. You're doing more corners, so as long as you're not wrecking, your safety rating should go right through the roof.
Yeah, I'm already eligible to upgrade to a B class once the season ends, so.
All right.
All right, Justin, you feel like ranting about short tracks?
Yeah, I actually familiar with this guy. Nick Nebun posted a video of a rant of the lack of new vehicle content on the short track oval side, and ordered some ideas what could be added. You guys got any ideas on it?
Well, I think kind of iRacing does. They're putting out a new late model.
Well, I mean, obviously, that's what prompted this video was the announcement of the late model. But I think what Nick Nebon's trying to say is, where's the love? I mean, and he goes into it in this video. Like he goes back into the release notes of all time, and he searches like, when's the last time that the sprint car or the Silver Crown got a tire update? And it was like 84 years ago. No, 8 years ago. It was 8 years ago. And so he's just saying, look, I appreciate the late model, but guys, I mean, it's not enough. I mean, we need more in the short track. The other thing he went and did, Justin, is he compared how the iRacing schedule looked like back then compared to how it looks now. Back then, 8, 10 years ago, it was very short track heavy, especially on the oval side, very short track heavy.
Well,
And
there's a simple
now
reason for that.
there's not hardly any,
That the back then was you had to run the short tracks to get your licenses up because you had to run a whole season as a C class or a D class, and those series ran short tracks, not hop on and run mile and a half all the time.
Well, and that's his other point is like the ARCA cars and the late models and stuff. He's saying, look, when we run these, we should be running on short tracks. But what's happened lately is we're sending them to mile and a halves, Vegas, Charlotte, Atlanta, you know, places where 10 years ago these cars would never be on a big track like that.
Yeah, some a couple really good points, Mike. So, what's the biggest complaint in NIS when short tracks come up? It's half the race is cautions, right? You go to Martinsville, half the race is cautions, and maybe it's because people aren't learning how to short track race. Um, and when they have these ladders set up where you can skip over short track racing really quick or avoid it altogether, that's a skill that gets lost.
Yeah, keeps them more prepared.
What do you think about the point of why are they replacing the late model instead of just making it legacy? Like why can't we have both? And that's something else Nick Nebon points out is he shows a list of all the legacy cars. We have the legacy Xfinity cars because we have the new Xfinity, and they made different versions of them. This late model car is way different than the old one. They're years apart. Why wouldn't it, why can't it be legacy? And so that was another, rant, I guess you would call it.
Well, the answer is they're starting to get away over the last year or two from doing legacy cars because then they have to continue to update them, and it's becoming too much of a workload as the content library has gotten larger and larger and larger. So this is going to continue to happen where they're going to just start letting the older cars no longer be up to date so that they don't have to spend man hours on it or person hours.
Yeah, he gives a big list of all the different short track cars that we don't have in the service that could be added, and there's even a forum post with pictures of all those. I couldn't tell you the names of them. I'm not familiar, but man, there's a lot of different stuff out there that we really don't have. So I kind of agree with Nick to a point. It would be nice to have some more short track love. Sure, Dale Jr.'s late model is going to be real big, but let's do some more. Let's keep going.
His best point really is that there's a couple of those other short track cars do need some updates.
Right. I love that sprint car, pavement sprint car. And if it had a new tire model and some updates, maybe a visual update too, I'd probably want to run it again. I mean, that sounds fun.
All right, this one I don't know if it's going to be implemented iRacing wise, but Mackenzie, what about these new NASCAR rules that we've heard about?
Yeah, so NASCAR is making some rule changes for road courses and short tracks. So currently they have a 4-inch spoiler. They're cutting that down to a 2-inch spoiler, and then they're removing 3 diffuser strakes and engine panel strakes. The changes are expected to lead to a 30% reduction in downforce. So this is for road courses and many tracks 1 mile or less.
Reduction in downforce. I love that. More horsepower, less downforce is always the right answer.
Yeah, is a strake the actual blades that are in the diffuser?
There's
Yeah. Go ahead.
There's streaks on the side of the car behind the front tire. They're just like little fins that stick out, like shark fins.
Yeah, so the blades, I guess you're calling them
Right.
fins. I'm calling them blades.
Right.
Yeah,
Now,
I don't know if they would have to do it graphically, but they could just tweak a couple of numbers on the iRacing side and cut out the downforce.
please, before Phoenix. So we're in Vegas. When is Phoenix? Next week?
Yep.
So can we get a release before next week with these changes, with the 30% reduction in downforce before Phoenix? Man, I think that would make a great race. And I really want those. Even if like you said, even if we don't get the graphical changes, because you're probably not going to see the strakes, but the spoiler is going to be pretty obvious. But hey, they've done it before where they gave us the arrow changes before the graphical changes, so why not?
All right, we always get excited when we get to see our real drivers on the service, and it looks like we have another sighting. Brian.
Yeah, so this is from Bill Nolan Jr. He posted in the iRacing community that he was doing a practice session at Las Vegas. And none other than Ross Chastain jumped in and was in there. He posted that, of course, he was the fastest guy by the end of the practice lobby, but it was really cool being on track with him and seeing the lines he was taking at Vegas. So pretty cool to see like real world drivers. One of the things that you can do is you can study them. Don't necessarily friend request them, but if you study real world drivers, you'll see when they're on the service. And if they're in a practice session, you can jump in the practice session with them. If you do that, please be respectful, though. That's the only thing. That's the one thing that's going to keep these things from happening again. Is if you're stalking real world drivers and you get on there and you kind of harass them. They probably have their chats off anyway, but still, yeah, pretty cool.
And if you want to try to get in a conversation with these guys, wait till after the race. I mean, Dale Jr. is really good about that. Like, he doesn't want to really chat during the race, but if you wait till the checkered flag and try to have a conversation, he'll do it. Pretty cool.
All right, Justin, take the next one. Something about a lot of effing cars.
Yeah, Moonhead tweeted the video of the race at Talladega, where at least 30 cars were involved in a massive white flag melee, and it looks like they're all packed up. And I haven't watched the video yet. Maybe you can comment, Brian.
Yes, I love these Moonhead announcers. They are the best announcers in all of sim racing because they let the curses fly, and it's so funny. It reminds me of, again, I've talked about this guy before, Bob Mannery. He's a comedian. He does these he does this announcer voice and uses a lot of inappropriate language, but it's so funny. Again, this guy's so energetic, and he just lets the curses fly. He's like, "That's got to be 30 blanking cars," as they're all wrecking. It's so funny. I just laugh out loud when I watch these replays. Check it out if you get a chance. That's the Moonhead Racing Series, and I want announcers like this in my races.
He's got so much enthusiasm.
Did you get to watch it?
Yeah, when the wreck starts, there's literally only one car that gets through at first. And after it all settles down, there are 3 cars left running to the checkered. And then 2 of them get involved with each other coming to the end. And the other guy just cruises around them on the outside for the checkered.
Called Talladega, huh?
Well, everybody knows basically that they can do stupid stuff as soon as they get the white flag. Then the gloves are off and they're like, I don't care if I wreck now, pretty much.
Yeah, the announcers are so good. They're so funny.
That was just a mess.
Did it make the highlights of the week?
No, but we did get a highlights of the week from iRacing, and I think Justin, you told us that you really like the number 4.
Yeah, it just because I was watching on YouTube. I was sitting in my garage, and I like watching those, 10 through 1, and it kind of confused me because I was watching the top plays, and that happened, and I was like, "What?" And I had to rewind it, and I just had a chuckle.
Yeah.
Where
So what happens? The guy he pulls it off to the apron, uh, as the pack is just swarming, and he just feels like, oh man, they're about to wreck. And sure enough, as soon as he pulls out of the crowd, they all pile up in a big steaming mess, and he's able to drive right by them.
It kind of
Yeah,
reminds
pretty
me of
cool.
that guy. Kind of reminds me of that guy who did Martinsville and pitted on every lap because he knew bad stuff was going to happen.
I really thought I had, what's the other one? The worst highlights of the week. I thought I was watching the best highlights, but then that played, and then I thought I was watching the worst highlights, and I was confused. So that's why I actually laughed out loud.
Yeah, lots of good side by side stuff on the other stuff, the typical highlights, but always fun to watch, like you say.
All right. Well, it's week 12, which means week 13 is coming up, and we basically have the season 2 release announcement, which is going to be on March 7th at 800 Eastern Time or 1300 GMT. The test drive will be available, but it will affect all iRacing.com regions, and members will be unable to host or join sessions. They do say that since it's a full release, expect a longer than usual downtime. Um, there's also an additional little schedule in here starting at 0200 on the 7th Eastern Time. They will not allow any sessions to be started that would run into the downtime. So they won't let you buy a hosted session that's going to run later than that or something like that, or any endurance type races that would normally be thrown up. Anything at that point that would run later than 0700 is, or 0800 actually, is not going to start. And then at 800, the race servers will be unavailable. And if you happen to be in a practice session, it'll just dump you. I was actually in a practice session one morning when we had a snow day, and I didn't look to see if there was a patch or not, and the server suddenly went down.
Oh, it's late in the week of week 12, and we haven't had a lot of teasers. I'm kind of surprised, to be honest. I mean, we've had a couple tracks announced, we've had a couple cars announced. I mean, is it hashtag rain? Is it time? Is this it? Are we going to get rain?
Either that or it's hashtag they're still working on the range, so there's not that much other stuff that they've had the manpower to work on.
Yeah, you're probably right.
They may have a lot of horsepower, so to speak, dumped into it. So there's not that many other new things, but there will be some surprises. There will be something that comes out that they did not leak.
Monza or Monaco. I mean, sorry.
Something new. Yeah.
I
Looking
don't know.
forward to it.
I don't know if they'd be able to keep a lid on that one. There somebody in there would get too excited. I can't think of something that big that's ever been completely hidden.
Yeah, we'd have a good teaser by now, right?
Well, Brian, you guys like doing the recaps of the race. Have y'all ever thought about looking into becoming commentators?
Uh, no, but if you're interested, Race Spot TV is looking for sim racing commentators and producers to be added to their options of commentators for 2023 and beyond. So, whether you have a lot of experience or not, it doesn't matter. You can still apply. If you so, Who knows? You could be the next Evan Pasoko. If I did this, I'd want to be like the moon car guy and just curse the whole time.
Believe it or don't, I used to do announcing on racing, uh, sim racing back in the day when I first got into iRacing. I did quite a bit of it with Rudy over at Max Speed TV and um, Michael Domingo. No, is that his name? Michael over at All Pro Racing. I was announcing on his broadcast, and I tell you what, guys, it's a lot of fun. And if you're looking for something a little different, but want to be in the scene, this is fun to get involved in talking about racing, which I'm really good at, or getting behind the scenes. Maybe you want to be a producer and run the cameras and get involved in that kind of stuff. And this is a great opportunity. Race Spot has been around forever, and they're one of the big ones. All right, I got the next one, David. Several story corrections I want to go over.
Can I pick up
Our
the first one?
listeners, yeah, our listeners are keeping us straight. And so, David, tell us about what listener Rick Lockwood told us.
Well, the racetrack formerly known by us as Jerez is far from a dead track, is what he wanted to point out. And anyone that follows MotoGP will know that the track 2 weeks ago had the GT and Formula cars with some prototypes for a winter series. There are wreck races over at Portimao and also the Algarve area of Portugal, 3 hours from Jerez. Jerez is pronounced Jerez, and it's a nice track facilities like Jack Nicklaus golf course on that is next door. Now, the reason it's pronounced Jerez is J's in Spanish are pronounced with a h sound, and if you're European Spanish, they don't say z, they say it more like a th sound. So, a fellow from Mexico would probably say Jerez, but in Spain they call it Jerez, and that's because I watch nerd language stuff that I know that.
And then Nikki Bobby, listener, told us, "Hey, I was listening to to this week's show, and you mentioned Moza does not allow third-party rims, but they do. I've seen several videos of people using the other companies' rims. There's a quick release they use. It's an NRG V2 style. There's even videos of people putting their drift car rims directly onto a Moza R9. The only thing they don't support is the buttons, though, through the base. So you need to connect the electronics via USB or Bluetooth. I'm planning on going to Moza R9 route and use my Thrustmaster Sparco wheel with an adapter I found on the VRS website. Thanks for correcting me there, Nikki." Scott Velez also corrected me regarding the Acetec wheel topic and how good it is. A lot of that comes from the fact that Acetec licensed the intellectual property of the SimiCube hardware and software. The Acetec product is literally based on what many called the best FFB wheel available, SimiCube. So while many wheel manufacturers had to create their design and software from scratch, Acetec did the smart thing. He said trading cash and stock and jump started their product right onto the top shelf with an IP deal with SimiCube. It's no wonder it's a top tier wheel.
That's really interesting because the Acetec wheelbase kind of came out of nowhere, right? They didn't have any real history with wheelbases, and the next thing you know, they're putting one out that's top notch.
Yeah, and obviously they bought the SimiCube style of software design, but Darren F also pointed out in the Discord, guys, that they still need to source the hardware and then base the software around that IP they bought. So it wasn't just buying code and shipping a wheel. There's a lot more to it. They had to pick the parts and so forth. And then I was wondering, how much does SimiCube make every time Acetec sells a base? Um, and so I think that's an unknown.
Well,
But
it's said,
Scott Velez indicated it was a one-time deal for cash and stock.
yeah,
I
that's
don't
what I
know
was
where
going to
you
say.
heard that.
Yeah, if it's a cash in stock, that was probably just a one-time hit, and they're not making money off of each individual unit that's sold.
That's an interesting deal. Did they just did SemiCube just need the money to get out of a hole? Because I don't know, they're basically giving a competitor a head start there.
You're right. I mean, before Ace Attack, I mean, SimiCube pretty much, at the top of the heap in a lot of people's list. So now you got a couple choices at the top of the heap, in my opinion. So, they just made themselves competition. Was it worth it? Good point.
Yeah, it almost seems like a franchise type of deal. Like when a restaurant has, franchise owners that aren't owners of the corporation. Um, Although the name is usually the same in that case, but they
Yeah,
still have the stock and stuff.
franchise deals are a time period basis, right? They're a recurring payment. You don't just buy in once and suddenly you get to put a McDonald's up forever.
Yeah, that is true. And you do pay royalties on your sales too.
I mean, we've been told by SimiCube that they're going to be giving us some significant software for the wheel in the future this year. And I wonder if they're planning, hey, that's really going to differentiate us from Ace Attack. Pretty cool. Thanks, guys, for correcting us. We don't want to put out bad information, but you got to remember we don't spend a lot of time researching this stuff either. So I appreciate listeners keeping us straight. Thank you.
All right, let's hit the big one that I kind of alluded to a little bit earlier. Mackenzie, we have the new late model update.
The late model. It's based on JR Motorsports car late model stock tour entry. It weighs 3,100 pounds. It produces more than 400 horsepower, and it's a fiberglass body. It's designed to take the abuse of wheel-to-wheel short track racing. Dale Earnhardt Jr., iRacing executive director and owner of both JR Motorsports and the Cars Tour, was hands-on in the development of the car. He spent hours testing and giving feedback to help tune the car to match its real-world counterpart.
Love it, especially after he's been recently in the car. He knows what it feels like. Um, who better to test it?
Well, this seems almost like a common sense logical path now that he's tied in close with iRacing and now owns the series. It would how would he not go ahead and move this series into iRacing?
Exactly. I mean, I have the car in the shop. Bring the boys over. We'll scan it. Just like in the old days, right?
All right, it looks like we've got one kind of events thing to talk about. It's the Creventic Endurance Series. Have you looked this one over, Mike?
Yeah. So iRacing has announced the Creventic Endurance Series. 4 events: March 11th, May 27th, August 12th, and December 2nd. Spa, Monza, Barcelona, and VIR.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be 12-hour endurance races at these, and they're going on the March 11th, May 27th, August 12th, and December 2nd. It features the GT3 Cup car. That's the 992. It's a Porsche 911, but it has in parentheses 992. Then there's 5 GT4 classes and 2 of the touring cars. That's interesting that they don't have the third touring car on there. There's no Audi.
Oh, you can only have so many cars, right?
Yeah. Well, we've talked about that several times, that every time you introduce some of the upper class cars, like for example, the new Daytona prototypes, that means you're going to have to pull a GT3 out.
Podcast housekeeping. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for more listeners to find us. Mention the show to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We do appreciate it. Go tell us what I said wrong in the Discord, guys. Give us some feedback. We love it. Check the website at iRacersLounge.com. And don't forget, we're in regular rotation at the Performance Motorsports Network.
All right, we got 2 weeks into the season. We have a fantasy update. Kick it off, Brian.
All right, so they were at Auto Club, obviously, last week. Winner of the week was Canadian. So I guess his name's Adrian, and he's from Canada. That's my guess. Smiling Ninja, second place. Mason Racing in third. Looks like the top Tifosi finisher was Bobby Jonas, who finished in 10th, and Mike. Not a bad deal for Mike Ellis. 13th place for Mike.
I redeemed it, baby. I'm up to 12th. I was 24th in point last time, and now I'm in 12th.
Not bad. Yeah, I know I had a terrible week. I was not able to watch the race. I had a funeral thing to go to, so I had Kyle Larson in there, and then I watched the replay that night, and he was like out after 5 laps. I was like, "Oh, I'm done," because I couldn't change him obviously by then, and then the rest of my drivers were caught up in one of many wrecks that were in Auto Club. So had a terrible week. I think if I just flipped the coin, I'd probably do a lot better than if I actually put some time into picking my drivers. But it is what it is.
Well,
So I wonder
let's talk
how many
about
people were
terrible.
going to the garage like literally 10 laps into the race.
How about Mackenzie Stevens? I mean, uh, talking terrible. I mean, when I look at the points, you're dead last.
Yeah. I only joined the fantasy in the second week there, but
Okay.
I had a bad week there. I think I only had 2 drivers that didn't get wrecked out. So
Well,
I had some bad picks.
You'll fit in right with us because we all stink at this thing.
Greg has redeemed himself. He was running, I think, dead last, but he's up to 55th, and Tyler is up to 58th, and then Tony Groves 54th, and then Brian, you're 53rd in points.
Yes, I'm terrible.
I guess Tom Dreiling is, I guess, our highest scoring guy right now. He's sitting 9th in the overall points.
Well done.
Your top 5 is Canadian, Mason Racing, Smiling Ninja, Silver Mustang, and Shane 7272.
Yep. So get your picks in for Vegas. That should be a fun one, and we'll try to redeem ourselves from terrible finishes.
Let's talk some hardware software sponsored by Metro Ford Chicago. The first item up for discussion is the new bundle from the Fanatics, the CSLDD. And the question posted on the script is it the best deal in sim racing? It's a complete set with the direct drive wheelbase, steering wheel, and pedals. And it's available for pre-order now.
They've been out of stock for a long time, guys, at Fanatec and everything. And now is a chance. But you can pre-order this package at 500 euros. And yeah, you get the wheel, the base, and the pedals.
Does that come with the upgrade, the power upgrade, or is that still the 5 nanometer?
I think it's the lower one.
Okay.
The availability date, if you pre-order, is April 10th. I don't know. If you're going to buy, I really think you should look at a bigger base than this one. I really like that Asetek entry-level system that is upgradable. I think that's the sweet spot right now because of the SemiCube IP and all the good reviews on it, and because of the price, and it is upgradable. If I was buying, that's what I'd be looking at.
Yeah, it does seem like so many of the new options that have come out that are just a little bit above this. It just almost it's almost too small. Except you probably still get the same fidelity with a direct drive either way, but that's still really light. I mean, I'm kind of like you with my wheel turned up really high. I couldn't imagine running with a wheel that light anymore.
Yeah, I kind of think Justin had the right idea. Come out of the box swinging. Go get your good stuff right away, and don't piecemeal it where you're spending a lot of money on stuff that you don't use after a couple weeks.
Now, Mackenzie, what's your base right now?
I just have the Logitech G29.
All right, it's a good base until it wears out. We talked about it. I think when we had you on as a guest that what order we think you should upgrade in, but it'll be interesting when you make your choices. We'll spend your money for you for sure.
We can give you ideas on how to spend that money.
All right, this next one is kind of interesting. Pneumatic and hydraulic, that's not the same thing. So am I confused by the title, or is somebody actually coming up with a new pneumatic pedal, Brian?
I think it's just this was put out by Dan Suzuki, and I think he just got the verbiage wrong. I even think
No,
he
no,
might have.
no, no, no. Let me interrupt. So
Okay.
these are not hydraulic. These are
They're not. Okay.
pneumatic.
So
So
that's
it's
air.
air. It's compressed air is what pneumatic.
Okay. I stand corrected. Sorry.
So that is a different air, and the title on his video is actually clever: "Hot Air or Genius." So I'm guessing, Mike, you got a chance to get through this.
Yeah, Dan Suzuki reviewed these pedals. They've been around a while. We've talked about them before, many ages ago, but um, they're the SRP GTR. They have a signature orange pedal where you lay your foot, and the rest of it is the normal looking, silver and whatnot. But the brake pedal has got that pneumatic cylinder on it, and it's a compressed air kind of thing where it compresses air to get the how much you're pushing the brake down. What I read in the comments of the video of some of the other sim racers opinions on it is one guy, which it was I thought was brilliant. He said, look, I can't see when the pneumatic thing is leaking air. Comparing it to a hydraulic, when a hydraulic leaks, at least you know it's leaking, and
I
you
guess
know
you'll
how
know
to
when.
fix it.
I guess you'll know when your foot goes to the floor and nothing happens. You'll know that it leaked there.
Well, I think the concern is what's the longevity of this? I mean, and what's the repairability or if something goes wrong?
Well, air can get out of anything even easier than liquid can. All right, right.
Exactly.
Um, Helium. What have you ever noticed how a helium balloon will deflate even when you don't unplug it? The helium is just constantly hopping through that wall of the balloon, and eventually it all escapes.
He had a lot of good things to say about it. He said it was an amazing finish, fit and finish. There was no play or sway in it at all. They were rock solid. I mean, Dan Suzuki he tried the active pedal from SimiCube. He's kind of comparing it to that and that kind of thing. Some of the best pedals out there, and he was very, very highly regarding of these pedals and had basically nothing really wrong to say about them.
Yeah, the only thing he said that he didn't like was that these were the black series, so everything is black except for the one thing in the back is silver. That's the only thing he said that was wrong about it, was that they wish that was in black as well. But if you watch the very end of the video, Mike, he teased that these might get some kind of haptic upgrade availability as well. So that would be really interesting.
That would require some kind of motor or something, I guess. Obviously, like anything else, but I wonder how the pneumatics work and how that's different from just a regular old throttle damper, which is basically a shock.
Cool. You need to check it out.
They're running around 10-30 euros, so a little over 1,000 euros, which is equivalent, pretty equivalent in U.S. dollars. So they're not crazy expensive either.
Let's do one more before results. The Cube Controls wheel is now in a real Mercedes Benz. They show on the Instagram their collaboration with Mercedes, showing their new wheel in the AMG GT2. And then Mercedes website also shows off the wheel as they show off the car, in one of their marketing websites for the new car. Pretty cool to see, Cube Controls getting this kind of publicity from a manufacturer like this, and they're actually using their wheel in a real car. This goes to show the quality of this Italian wheel from Cube Controls. I I haven't had any problems with mine. I just love it.
Yeah, who would have thought years and years ago when I got my first G27 from Logitech that they were going to make sim equipment that could be used in a real car like this? It seemed wouldn't even seem possible back then.
Here it is, and they're celebrating it too. All right, let's jump to results. We're going to talk the NASCAR iRacing series at California. Let's finish up Friday Open. I got a P6. I got hit a couple times. I had a little bit of damage. Uh, Decided to pit. I probably shouldn't have for the damage. I went back as far as 22nd, drove clear up to second, but the leader was 8 seconds in front of me. At that point, I couldn't catch a caution. I had driven the tires off, and I faded back to P6. Nice run. David, P15.
Yeah, I left this race feeling a little upset, but it was just the way the cautions fell. There's there were cautions that fell in a range where you could take tires on this one stop, or 20 laps later there was or no, 10 laps later, I think, or so, there was another stop, and it just worked out where the guys that finished in front of me and a few other people had 10 lap fresher tires on a really long run, and I think I had a top 10 car, but just didn't have the tires with the way the cautions fell.
Right, and then Donnie Spiker, P8. He started P7. Car felt great and fast along the high line. Tire wear felt different during this week than it had all week long. Good run, gaining confidence. Sunday Open, Brian, P12.
Yeah, so I think I started like eighth on this one. It was a fun. I had a fun time running the high line at Auto Club. It's not usually my forte. I usually like running bottom lines, but the setup was really good on high lines. I wasn't really making any major progress early in the run up high, but we had one really decent long run, and man, I was just passing cars like crazy towards the end. I think being up high might have saved my tires if you don't overdrive it. And man, I had a lot of speed towards the middle and end of a longer run. Actually, what I do is like the rest of the guys seem like they started on the bottom and wound up on top as their tires were wearing out. I stayed up top at the beginning, and then I could run the bottom, and I was passing 2 3 cars at a time on a corner. It was awesome. I actually made my way up to first place, but after a restart I was still in first, and I got caught up in an accident that happened like a little bit behind me. I think it was a little bit my fault just because I didn't do anything wrong, but I think I need to be more aggressive when I'm in the lead than I am. I kind of get in the same mindset that I am when I'm starting a little further back and I'm just trying to get into a rhythm. When you're in the lead, you guys got to go balls out from the beginning. And I think because of that I had cars inside of me, and then somebody wrecked and took me out. But I didn't get a whole lot of damage. It was all side damage. It wasn't front end nose damage, and I was able to still keep a decent finish, P12.
It was a rocket ship at California. Tony Rochette, P8. As the end credits scroll on the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, so does its official racing. Just like a lackluster mid-credit scene in a mediocre Marvel movie, so was my last run at the 2 mile track. Had a long 65 lap run at the start where I was hanging in the top five. But caution after caution killed my long run. Uh, Greatest, and with the track tighter than I had all week, I wasn't coming or going, just like I-5 on a Friday afternoon. David Hall, P16.
Yeah, had to run top split in this one, and this one played out really weird. We had a late caution, and I thought we were all kind of in a situation where some of us are saving fuel and some of us weren't. But it turns out, according to Garrett Maines, the leaders didn't have to save fuel either. Was floating around 16th and thought I might have done better when the caution came out because there was a few people that we knew were still going to have to pit, but it didn't fall that way. We ended up having like a 5 lap run at the end, but still, it's P16 in top split. I was car 37, so I'm. It's a frustrating start to the season, but again, I'm running against a lot of fast guys.
All right. Tom Dreiling, P20, got spun on lap 5, got a lot of front end damage and no yellow. Fell about a lap down, was able to work my way from last to 20th during a caution free race. Will miss the big track at California on to Vegas. McKenzie, P23.
Yeah. Had a very fast car. It felt great. I was running around 15th. Got turned sideways. Ended up hitting the wall down at the bottom. Got 4 minutes damage. Went 2 laps down fixing that. Gained 1 lap back from getting the lucky dog. And I was trying to run my way back up and get that last lap back. I was behind the 9th car. Got turned again, so ended up going 3 laps down and finishing 23rd. But I definitely think I had a top car 10 if I stayed on that lead lap.
All right, very good. Sunday fixed. I got wrecked out on lap 9 where the guy in front of me got ran over from behind. He got turned, came up the track. I T-boned him, 11 minutes damage. I knocked the right front completely off. Justin, I'm not sure. Did you run this race? I think you
Was
might
this
have.
was this the race with you and Donnie?
Sunday night?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did pretty good, and you got hit late in the race, right?
Yeah. We had that long run. It was like around 50 laps right before we were about to get it was the fuel window, I should say. And everybody started pitting. I grabbed tires. A couple people stayed out. And me and a guy with fresh tires was coming up on a guy on a lead lap with old tires, and we kind of split him. And that car kind of freaked out and kind of went towards the outside wall. Luckily, I was there, pinched me. 3 minutes worth of damage. A lap down, 28th, and made it all the way back to the lead lap, fixed all my damage, and made it to 13th.
All right. Yeah, I got to watch you at the end of that race a little bit. If you wouldn't have got hit in that incident, you probably had a top 10 there.
Yeah, I like my car.
All right, let's move on to Vegas. Wednesday Open. Tony Rochette, P15, rolled the dice and lost. Was super loose in the start of the race, so ended up falling into the back trying to get it adjusted right. Got caught in other people's door banging, got spun, and saved it. With my wheel at 2 o'clock, I ended up going from the back to the top 10 just to get hit and spun again. At the end, just couldn't get around the super aggressive guys, making it 4 wide in the corners. All right, and then Donnie, P17. This race started terribly as the team set was crazy loose. Made some pit stop adjustments that made the car enjoyable, but for 2 weeks in a row, my wheelbase was failing. With the loose setup, the lack of any force feedback, I have zero faith in entering any corner with confidence. Vegas was one of my worst track performances. I am encouraged, though, by the progress. My race, I wrecked out. Ouch, I was doing pretty good without the cautions, and I short pitted, but then the caution came out, so I had to take a wave around. I was running about 15th to 20th, basically. Then got a caution and drove it up through there. I was riding, minding my own business on the top, and the guy below drifted up into me and took us all out. I can't get a finish. It's crazy. Tyler, Mackenzie, let's jump to you. P30.
Yeah, my car was running really loose. I was fighting it around the corners. I was running around 20th on lap 95, but a car went sideways out front. He was up on the top of the track and ended up sliding down, and I T-boned him and had 8 minutes damage. So I repaired it. I was 10 laps down by the time I finished that, and ended up finishing 30th.
All right, and then Tyler Williamson, P25. Set was extremely loose early on and struggled quite a bit till the first caution around the first green flag stops. That was the only caution for the day and just never felt comfortable with the set. Ran the middle lane as I saw others ripping the bottom. Just was not happy the entire race. Moving to Thursday Open, I picked a different set. Yeah, because we all struggled on Wednesday. So we tried something different on Thursday. And guess what? I took the lead by lap 17, um, led the most laps through the beginning part of the race. It stayed green until green flag pit stops. I pitted from the lead on lap 54. I came out of the pit and spun it in 1 and 2 on the apron coming up through the gears. And what I did is I was going from second to third, and like a dumb shit, I somehow dropped it into first, and the cars swapped in. I came back up on the track, and the caution came out, and I just screwed myself totally. And now, first of all, how did I switch from I'm going up through the gears? Why did I go down in the gear on a sequential? I mean, I feel like a total idiot, like a total brain fart. But I mentioned it in the chat in the race, and some of the other guys are like, look, I've done that before too. And so I guess I didn't feel too bad after that. But man, didn't damage the car. I thought I was going to be okay. So then the next run, I drove like hell to get the lucky dog, and I got it 12 lap later. Then I ran hard from dead last. I mean, like literally dead last, right up to towards the front before a guy slowed in front of me, causing me to spin out, causing another caution. No damage, restarted P12. The very next restart, I'm headed to the front. I go 3 wide to the outside. This guy in the middle panics and drives me to the wall. 5 minutes damage. I soldier on, staying on the lead lap, but near the end, I get sideswiped again on the high side and hit to the wall in DNF. And so went from like it was looking like I was going to win the race to I didn't even finish. But what a rocket ship. I mean, this other set was on fire, man. So I'm really fired up for Friday. Okay, other racing official. I ran the USF 2000 at USA Oval, qualified 10th out of 15, ran as high as 8th, but fell back to 10th. There was some late trouble, and I ended up climbing up to 7th. Wasn't as fun as it sounds like. Once you get out there, it's really follow the guy in front of you and hope they make a mistake. Then the week switched. I ran the F2000 at Watkins Glen. Started P6 out of 13, got to P4 by the end of lap 1. Had a good battle all the way through the end. I was able to keep a podium finish, P3. All right, Mackenzie, you had the C-class trucks at Auto Club.
Yeah, I was the number 22 car for that race. I started 13th. I ran a great race. I was up to 5th at one point with about 10 to go, but ran out the tires a little too hard and dropped 3 spots and ended up finishing 8th. So that's a 30 lap race in the trucks, and we ran the whole race with no cautions.
Right. And then OBRL Cup, Brian, P15.
Yeah, so I had bad qualifying. I think I hit the wall like coming out of four on the first lap, so it killed that lap, and I lost all my speed for the second. So started pretty far back, 23. It was another full field for the old bastards, So I think it was 43 cars, another full great field. But everything was going okay early, but on lap 8, a car spun out in front of me in some traffic. He went down to it was on the back stretch. He went down to the infield and came up and just barely clipped my left rear. I got sideways. I didn't hit the wall or nothing, but it gave me 4X. And it's a 100 lap race, so I still had 90 some laps to go, and the incident limit is only 7 points. So another incident, and I'm out of the race. So at that point, you kind of got to be a little extra careful. And I was, but I thought I had some speed. Not quite enough for the top 10 guys, but was able to work my way up to a P15. Because mostly through attrition, cars crashing out. Wasn't a whole lot of yellows, but there were a lot more than you typically see in an OBR race. But yeah, it was fun run. I'm gonna miss this track. The setup we used there was really loose, especially on four. Coming out of four, especially if you're on the bottom after you get a few laps underneath of you, it would get really loose on the exit. So everybody was kind of running up high. Maybe a couple guys who are really good be able to keep it on the bottom, but really nice race.
All right, well done. Let's jump to final thoughts then. Brian McCubbin, you're first.
So now that I'm running the OBRL Cup races on Sunday, we get to go back and watch the replays of the race on the YouTube channel for Team Goon Squad. So Team Goon Squad does the announcing, and they're really good at it because they have our bios and everything in the league. So all the drivers have bios, and not just their name and number, but it has a little bit about them. So as they're doing the race, they'll talk about some of the people in the league and what their hobbies are and things like that. It was really cool. So Team Good Squad does a really good job on the announcement on those OBRL Cup races, and I just wanted to give them a shout out. Good job, guys.
Right. David Hall, final thoughts.
Well, you may have noticed I haven't done anything at Vegas yet. That's because I believe on Sunday my VR finally just kind of went kaput. It was really just worn and torn. In fact, the top strap had broken, both of the side straps had broken. I was holding it together with rubber bands, and I would have to constantly replace the rubber bands as they would snap. And then finally, I dropped it off my desk at one point, and it started blacking out in the middle of races, and then finally stopped coming on at all. So went online, found a nice refurb price because I didn't want to go ahead and buy a new one yet, and I didn't want to upgrade to something really expensive. So I snagged a refurbed HP reverb, and it came in today, and I had just enough time before the show to plug it in and make sure it would turn on, and it did. So when you find out later why the show dropped a little bit later than usual, it's because I'm going to go run a race first.
Get that fixed. All right. Well done getting those goggles replaced quickly. Greg Hectus, final thoughts.
Just looking forward to racing one more time on Friday night here at Vegas. Was a little too loose last night with the set. It got better over the race when the track rubbered in. I just kind of on a green white checker was in the wrong lane on the restart, and it kind of screwed up my race. But the rest of it was a decent race. It was enough to learn from. I didn't do any A opens this week to learn anything beforehand, so I was kind of going blind in it. So I feel a little bit silly, but I've been a little bit busy this week. So now that we got a little bit more information for Friday night, I hope I can place a little bit better. But yeah, I look forward to doing that, and maybe I'll do some more racing this weekend. I'm not sure.
All right, very good. Mackenzie Stevens, final thoughts.
Yeah, so I'm I'm looking forward. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna run another NIS on Friday. Maybe try to run on Sunday again too. Hopefully I can tighten up the car for the next race and run a little better. I'll probably run another one or two truck races. Try it out at this track, and yeah, hopefully I get some better finishes than I have been.
Yeah, you'll get it done. Got to tighten that baby up. All right, and then finally, special guest Justin Pearson. Thanks for joining the team and talking with us today, and joining the show, man. We're happy to have another voice.
I appreciate it, Mike. Yeah, it's been a blast. God, you guys have been welcoming. And yeah, I've been having fun. I'm glad to learn with you guys. I've already learned a ton. But yeah, I'm planning on doing a couple NIRS races and hopefully work on my IR rating because Auto Club wasn't nice to me. I lost a couple hundred. So
Right, and my final thoughts is, man, I've lost a bunch of I rating. I'm kind of embarrassed by what my I rating is right now, but boy, after the way I ran today, all that embarrassment goes out the window. I was the fastest car on track, even on a long run where we ran the tires off. And guess what? I didn't even run the tires off. These guys were calling percentages out that were much lower than mine were after that long run. I drove to the lead. I kept it. I pitted from the lead. And to screw it up coming off pit road and spinning out by changing into the wrong gear, I just feel like a fool. But, I told my roommate here, after the race, I was like, you know what? If it was easy, I wouldn't do it. These things are hard to win. And that's why I do this, 3, 4 times a week to see if I can do it. And boy, it just feels good to be in contention again. So can't wait for Friday and let's go get it. Let's get that win. And with that, hey, we'll see you on the track later.